So it's been 2 years now, but I was in a decade-long relationship with my last partner. He is also a comic. His name's Bobby Lee. He's a funny Korean man. And I want to know, like,
Yikes. No, I'm just saying.
No, dating a comic is really an Olympics.
You guys, I am so excited that Drugstore June, my movie that I co-wrote, and star in, is finally available digitally. You can get it on Apple, on Amazon, wherever you buy movies, and I can't wait for you to see it and hopefully love it.
Hi, everybody. It's me, Kathy Griffin. Please come see me live at the Kathy Griffin My Life on the PTSD-List tour. Get it? D-List? Harkening back. All right, here's the dates coming up. I'm going to cheat. March 30th, I'm in Phoenix. April 3rd, I'm in Tucson. April 4th, I'm in Palm Desert. April 5th, I'm in Napa. April 6th, I'm in Long Beach, which is sold out. Ooh, sexy. Come see me.
I'm really excited about TigerBelly's next show. We've begged production for this specific place for a very long time. TigerBelly will be at Hawaii Theater April 26th. You can go get your tickets at tigerbellylive.com. If you've never been to TigerBelly shows, they are not what you think they are. They are super fun. They're super interactive, and we can't wait to see you there.
Well...
Here we are yet again.
Here we are, back for another episode of Trash Tuesday. And today is a little different because we have an icon, a legend. She had her life on the D-list for many years on Bravo. She had a special every year on Bravo for a long time. She's a movie star. She's famously played herself in Pulp Fiction. Who else has done that? Who? I don't know. Please welcome Kathy Griffin.
Oh my God, I love her. She's so funny. I'm just a humble icon. That's all. Just a humble legend.
Who sleeps in her makeup.
Okay, you guys, I slept in my makeup. I did. Just hear me out.
This is unforgivable.
It's unforgivable. I know. I did a shoot yesterday for PETA with my 4 dogs, and they paid for hair and makeup. And
PETA pays for hair and makeup?
PETA paid for hair and makeup. That's what they do with your donations. They pay for Kathy Griffin's hair and makeup. And so I just think you should know I am yesterday's Kathy Griffin as well as today's.
I just want to say I advocate for this. I love a day old makeup. I think it's better. I think like that's where I thrive when I look a little slept on and I think
the
it's
eyeshadow
sexy.
like sunk in. It's actually part of my skin now, I think.
Something else you both have in common.
What?
Now that Kathy spilled her tea, you both have 4 dogs.
4 dogs.
I didn't know that about you.
Oh my God. They are my life. I'm going through a divorce. They're my new husband.
Aww.
And I sleep in bed with them. I know that's a block, but I'm not thinking about right now. I'm just trying to survive. And that should be the name of my tour. I'm not thinking about right now. I'm just trying to survive. 2 of them are named Olivia Benson and Elliot Stabler, and they are detectives for the Special Victims Unit. And because when I was on tour overseas 6 years ago, no matter what country you're in, they show Law & Order SVU. So when I came home, I thought I have to name my 2 puppies after Olivia and Elliot. And then the other ones are named after my mother, who is either in heaven or hell. I'm really not sure. She's at least still in purgatory with all the drinking she's done. And their names are Maggie and Mary, because that was my mom's first and middle name.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah,
That is
so it's a
cute.
whole legacy. And they're a pack, and they're so ill-behaved that Cesar Millan came to my house, and he threw his hands up.
So it's a recent divorce.
It's recent, and we were together 12 years, and my heart is absolutely broken.
Really?
So I'm doing all kinds of wacky woo-woo stuff to just survive. And I did call my tour My Life on the PTSD List. By the way, please tell me you love that title.
Of course.
Great.
I already knew it. I love it. Yes.
Because I actually have been diagnosed with PTSD, and I know that sounds really dumb because I'm a comic, but somehow I feel like I caught it like a virus. And so this divorce is just like another thing. And so I have like these really bad panic attacks, and the way it manifests in me, this is going to be really fun for your listeners, is I can't stop vomiting, which lays you out. Like if you barf and then can't stop barfing, that's it. You're just in bed like writhing in pain. And so I do all sorts of remedies. And like the latest one I'm trying is that my Kundalini yoga teacher, and I don't even know what Kundalini means or if it's a person or a place. I don't believe any of it really works. I just do it.
Wait, what triggers the vomiting, or is it just a spontaneous?
It's you know what? I think I got PTSD. I think it was a combination of the Trump scandal. And then, I became addicted to prescription pills and tried to take my life and ended up on a 5150 psych hold.
Been there, can relate. 3 times,
You
yeah.
guys have too much in common.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, we might have a little a kindred spirit here.
I didn't know that I was in a psych ward, and I didn't know why the nice lady wouldn't leave the foot of my bed. And I kept telling her, like, you can go. This must be so boring for you to just sit. I didn't know I was on a watch.
Yeah,
Because I was so messed
interesting.
up on pills that I was like, what kind of hotel is this? And I did try to call the concierge, and I'm not kidding. Like, I was like, this room is dusty, and I need to call downstairs. And when you call downstairs, they just add more days to your stay.
Wait, they gave you special treatment then because
They
you had
did
your
give me
own room.
I did. I had my own room, and because Cedars doesn't have a psych ward anymore, but they did have to put me on a lockdown because I was so serious about taking my life. Like, I wrote a note, and I took like 100 benzos, and I injured myself because I fell down the stairs, and then I didn't die, which initially was a bummer, but now it's a good thing. Yay!
Yeah, let's clap to that.
But initially, I was like, "Ugh, you're kidding." Now I
How
have to
long
figure out
before you
life.
actually came around and
Yeah.
figured out where you were, what you had done,
What is
and that you were
like,
still alive?
waking
Honestly,
up?
waking up and having like bruises and lacerations on your body and not knowing how it happened, and there was like blood in the bed, and I was like, "How did I get here?" And then I'm not even kidding, and I should put this in my new show, and the audiences have been very forgiving and laughing. But my first words were, "Oh, you are kidding me! Like I can't even do this right." So I then texted. One of my doctors was dumb enough to give me a cell phone number, so I texted him.
I've always waited for that day for
Oh,
me.
it's the best manipulation.
Your dream come true.
Yes, because enough with the going through the office and waiting 7 months.
What about the link you log into and you message?
CS link.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. And
I
that's
have CS Link on
complicated.
Face ID.
I do
am
too,
so quick with
but
that.
it's not the same.
It's almost as good as texting them personally, but this poor got a text from me. It was on a Saturday night, and it was like, "Hi, it's Kathy Griffin. Sorry to bug you on a Saturday night." Anyway, took 100 benzos, tried to kill myself, didn't work, fell down the stairs. I might need some x-rays. And so he's like, "Yes."
He's like, I'm
come
at my
into the
son's bar
emergen-
mitzvah.
Totally busy.
BRB.
Yep, be right back. And so I went to the emergency room, and I didn't know that if you tell them everything you did, they legally have to put you on the psych hold.
Right.
And so I did. And then once I was on the psych hold, I was like, get me off this rock. And so I was there for 3 days. How long were you there?
My third time was a month.
Oh, now, did you like it and feel peace, or did you want to get out?
I was just this is when I was a teenager.
Okay.
So it's been a while. I
You
was
weren't
just in
59 like me?
no.
Because that's really the comedy, is that I was 59, not normal like you.
But I feel as though at 59, at least, you have major tragedies to go off of, where it's like, you know what?
I had a good legacy of tragedies.
Right.
Which counts.
Like a whole lifetime of very
Oh.
traumatic things. I
Yes.
think when you're a teenager and you try to take your own life, you haven't connected many dots yet. You're
Yeah.
just like, I have all of these strange feelings I can't reconcile with. It's difficult. I just want out.
Yeah.
So I think being in a place like that at first feels very communal, and like
Mm-hmm.
you get to talk to other girls who have these like strange feelings with you.
Yeah.
But the weirdest part was that one of the counselors ended up asking for my number
Okay.
as he was helping me pack.
Not to brag.
Not to brag, Kathy, but did you get at
I did
your
not get
5150?
my psych hold, and now I feel ripped off. And I blame my insurance company. I really do. They should have had a provision for that.
Blame Cedars.
Well, I don't mean to take them to task, but they should have a package that includes.
I think
I'm
so.
just saying, for the money I paid there. And so what did you do when they asked for your number, when the guy asked for your
They
number?
I gave
dated.
my number because I was a dumb 17-year-old.
Of course, you're 17,
And he was
you
cute,
don't know.
and he talks about my feelings with me.
He was probably very compassionate.
And he
Or
wore
appeared to be.
Aeropostale a lot. And I was like, I think that's a cool boy brand.
right.
And we went on a couple dates. He was a single dad.
Look at
I know.
Everyone's jealous.
everyone, the whole neighborhood just went, what?
That sounds great.
Yeah.
And
How did you up because this guy, I'm team this
boy,
guy.
right?
Yes. Totally appropriate behavior by a professional in his industry.
And then we went on a couple dates, and then I went off to college after that, and we never spoke again. But I'm sure something probably would have continued.
Maybe you weren't sick enough for him anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe he likes him in the psych ward or nothing.
Yeah.
Psych ward or bust.
That's so real.
He might have a standard.
But I mean, that really is.
It's his boundary. You should respect it.
Yeah, seriously. It's
Dr.
kind of
Drew
your
was-
fault.
God, I fucked it up, guys. My dream
I don't
boy
mean to
is
say
gone.
Mr. Right, but I mean,
Wait, now, Kathy. So when you don't for a few hours or days, you don't realize you're there being held against your will. Once you do realize that, are you like, okay, maybe this is for the better? Are you like freaking out, get me out of here?
both. I knew I had to stop doing pills. And
How long had you been kind of on this downward spiral?
not to keep blaming everything on the Trump thing, but honestly, I really didn't start to abuse pills until then because the amount of negativity coming toward me was so overwhelming. And the FBI was coming to the house telling me about credible threats versus non-credible threats, et cetera. And, you know, being a happy workaholic and having the phone just stop ringing, I just would sit at home and do pills all day. And I was doing uppers and downers and painkillers. And I knew I needed to get into recovery. And I knew AA was a good thing. Like I had friends in the program. So luckily, the doctor from the hospital hooked me up with a husband and wife team that like were not, I guess, sober companions. And I was glad they were AA people because I didn't want to like join any weird like sober groups that weren't. What I like about AA is number one, is free. So nobody's making any money and they don't have one leader. So it's not like culty in that way. And the reason I say AA as opposed to NA, which is Narcotics Anonymous, is AA just has a lot more meetings. And it's really the same ism, as they say, the same, addiction thing. And I like women's meetings. Because when I go to mixed meetings, I'm sorry, I can't relate to the guys that are like, and then when I was using, I beat up my girlfriend, knocked her teeth out, punched a hole in the wall, and now I'm happy to be clean. And I'm like,
This is making it worse.
Because when you go to women's meetings, it's all women that have eating disorders as well, and that's more my jam.
I was going to say, I used to go to OA.
Yes, always a great program.
Yes, and I did stumble into AA once, and it wasn't more intense for me, but I do see the connection. And recently I've been kind of addicted to marijuana.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking like, oh, maybe AA is the right.
I think so. I think there is a Marijuana Anonymous, but I just like AA because you have so many choices. And like I said, I just prefer women's meetings.
I do too.
It's just more relatable to me. And I get that we all have the same thing. But the guys mostly come from the way their addiction came out was anger. And that just was obviously never my thing. I never, believe it or not, I've never beat anybody up. I've wanted to, a lot of executives. Les Moonves, for example, or Jeff Zucker. I could name names. But I find a lot of comfort in the women's meetings. And so I've been in recovery now for 3.5 years.
Oh,
and
wow.
I love it. And I have AA friends as well as non-AA friends. Yay!
Were you
But
sober?
detoxing was so hard, man. Like I didn't do the rehab detox. I did old school detox. And I walked around for 4 months shaking.
What's old school detox?
Like without there's a way you can go to rehab and they detox you with like an IV.
drugs?
I know that way.
Yes. And this way is just cold turkey. And it's just
Like no support for your symptoms as you're going through
you're
it.
journaling and you're doing 3 meetings a day and you're working with your sponsor and you're doing service and all the classic AA stuff. But I'm just saying it was a bitch, man. I was sweating so bad. I had to walk around with like a wet gym towel all day. And I kept putting it under the cold water, squeezing it, put it around my neck. Because no matter what I did or where I went, I would just be pouring sweat. And like I
Was
said,
it a
the
conscious
tremor was
decision
really
to
bad.
do it the old way?
It was COVID. And so rehabs were really limited anyway. And so I did get sober at my house, which is not really probably the best way. Like it's probably better to go to rehab. But I was able to do it with the help of really a woman. A woman came to my house every day for 4 months, piss tested me. We would do 3 Zoom meetings a day. I got a sponsor who I still have to this day and stuff. So that's why I did it the old fashioned way. But I'm a little jealous when I hear about like people that detoxed in a week with the IV, just because I just felt like mine was never going to end.
Yeah.
But I feel like there is something to be said about that prolonged physical suffering, maybe,
Yeah.
where
It
you're
makes you definitely
constantly
never want to use it again.
right. Because like a 1 week detox, I mean, not to say that it's easy, but it does cut the time.
Yeah.
Exponentially,
Yeah.
and then you're sort of just out of the physical pain of it all,
Right.
and you can just focus on the psychological stuff.
You didn't
But
earn it.
maybe it's very militant of me to think, but it's almost as if the harder this journey is out, then maybe I will remember not to dip my toes back into the
I mean, I
addiction
never
again.
want to be in that place. I mean, when I think about waking up with blood in the bed and stuff,
Oh, shit.
that is so freaking dark. And also, I wasn't thinking about when, you take your life, what it would mean to those around you. And the doctor in the psych ward was very effective in saying, look, there's millions of studies you can read about your friends feel guilty, your family feels guilty. And I thought, well, wait, I wasn't thinking about that stuff. I was just thinking I wanted a way out. And I felt like I was suffering, and I felt like I had kind of had a good life and a good run. And I just felt like it was in the cards for me. But now I know that was 100% the drugs talking, 100%. So once I got clean, it was like never have had a suicidal ideation again. And so I'm a big proponent in I don't want to say, I'm a big proponent about talking about suicidal ideation because I think it's more common than people think. And I don't think that because the thought crosses your mind, it means you're going to do it or you're going to encourage someone else to do it. So I actually have a bit in my show where I talk about how I tried to do it. And the audience laughs because it was so over the top and so ridiculous. And I was so messed up on pills that I think I've been successful, knock on wood, in making it funny. And if you can make it funny and if it's real, I feel like it's kind of fair game for stand-up.
That is exactly how I feel. So not to the extreme of your situation, but 2 years ago, I had a miscarriage and
I'm sorry.
No, thank you. I'm currently pregnant now. So fingers crossed,
yes.
further along this time. But I really felt like the only way for me to truly heal and cope with this was to talk about it in my stand-up.
Yeah.
And like a lot of people at first were like, that's not a funny subject. And I'm like, this is
It's your story.
art, my life.
It's your story.
That's my beef with a lot of people, though. It's like, you don't get to tell me how I cope with things.
Right.
You don't get to tell me how I tell my story. Because, I mean, especially on this show, we've told some pretty dark, grim things about ourselves. And it's always somehow like turned against us, where she was like, she talked about suicide so flippantly. She talked about, it's like, look, this is my experience. This is how I cope with it. This is how I'm able to tell it on camera. Like, you don't get to kind of dictate how I do that.
But I wish in my generation people had talked about it.
Same.
Because in my
Yeah.
generation, it was this mystery. And if there was a suicide in a family, that family almost disavowed that person.
Right.
Or it was almost like, do you go to the funeral of someone who took, like, I just think having been kind of on the precipice, I've also heard like via social media, you shouldn't be talking about this, you're being flippant. But I agree, it's your story. And if you can make it funny or relatable, it's the way you tell it. But if it's your story, it's your story. So it's not appropriate for someone to try to dictate. And by the way, I have a feeling that most of the people who go online and say that, they didn't even really listen.
Yeah.
Or they may have heard about it from somebody else. And I'm like, okay, just calm down. The audience is laughing. I am hardly promoting these things. I'm not promoting pills when I talk about going to a fucking psych ward. Like, trust me, nobody's lining up to go to the psych ward because of the Kathy Griffin show. But talking about this stuff, it's relatable. And I say to the audience, like, by the way, after that, I then got lung cancer and I've never smoked. So of course I do some cancer jokes because I ask the audience, I say, clap if you've been affected by cancer in any way with anyone in your life. The whole audience claps. So I like that we're in a period where in stand-up, you can talk about these topics more openly. And the haters don't get it, and they're not doing it themselves. But I like when the audience members will come up to me after a show and say, I was there. Thank you for talking about that.
Yeah, and also like Mark Maron's most recent special, he makes fun of his dad's dementia,
Yes.
Alzheimer's, and it's like it's so heartbreaking and it's so funny.
I loved it
And
because my mom had that, and I was watching Mark's special going, yeah, I've certainly cried about it. It's okay
Yeah.
to watch somebody the way he did it was masterful, I thought.
Me
And it
too.
was funny, but it was relatable.
Yeah, a big theme of this show in general is like just laughing at the things that have tortured us and made us feel shitty. Like,
Because 99% of the time, we've probably just sat in a room and lived in the sorrow of it all. And there is a
Alone.
little bit of a pressure
You think
release
you're
when you're
alone.
able to just say it out loud without being in a puddle of tears
Yeah.
in your own room. So it's like, give me that.
Right.
Give me that opportunity to kind of look at my long string of sexual assault or suicide
Mm-hmm.
attempts or this and just let me have a moment of levity
Right.
about it. Like,
Yeah.
why can't I have that?
Yeah.
And that's not to say that it doesn't hurt
No,
me still, or it
but
doesn't
the
live in
levity
me
is a
deeply.
coping mechanism
Right.
also. And I really do believe laughing has absolutely helped me get through cancer. And I know that sounds weird, but
no.
if one more person at my oncologist calls me Kathy Lee Gifford, every time they're like, Miss Gifford? And I'm like, yes, it's me. I'm here. It's me, co-host of Regis and Kathy Lee. And you just got to laugh. I'm not going to yell at the receptionist at the oncologist's office. So I had the surgery where they took out half my left lung. And then I was injured during the surgery. So
How?
I think honestly, I think the doctor was too rough. I'm just going to say that's what I think happened. And I'm just saying that's my opinion, Dr. Rob McKenna. And I feel that all I know is I didn't have this voice in the morning and I had this voice now. And it's good now. I've had 5 surgeries since then. But I have a permanently paralyzed left vocal cord and I have an aperture above my vocal cords. So when I do stand-up, the adrenaline makes my voice go into a little bit of a higher pitch, and it's a little bit of a Minnie Mouse quality, and I'm like very self-conscious about it, but I just say it. It's like the first thing I say in the show, and I use a headset mic now instead of a handheld, which I didn't know is better amplification, so I don't have to strain my voice as much. And then the audience, they seem to forget. So I'm so grateful because before the tour, I just thought, I can't do my same impressions. I can't yell like Oprah. I can't do Trump anymore. And I like doing my silly impressions, they're part of the show. So if I'm going to do an impression, I'll just be like, you guys know who I'm trying to emulate. And I am so grateful for every single show. I've been going over. I've been doing like 2.5 hours because I feel like every show is going to be my last show. I don't have an opener. I apologize to the audience if you have to go to the bathroom, because I will do at least 2 hours. And I just love it. I can't stop thinking of new stories and trying new stuff. And the audiences have been so loving. Like, because I feel like if you're coming to this tour, you probably know at least about the Trump thing.
Yeah.
So they're coming in the door, I think, with just this
Love.
like open arms. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's just, I know I sound corny, but it's just like fantastic.
That is so amazing. And like, how do you feel after a show? Are you so happy? Like, do you have that glow, that
Yes.
high?
Well, first of all, I go over the whole show in my head all night. So I go, oh, I screwed this up.
You
I should do
do?
this. Oh, I should have done that one. Oh, I should have switched this around.
So that doesn't go away even at 63 and you've been
Sorry.
doing it forever.
Here's the bad news.
Shit.
Never.
Esther.
And my body does feel like somebody beat me up with baseball bats because I like roll around a lot now that I have a headset mic, and I just am more physical, but I love that part. But the next day, like, I feel like I want to do that Pink, how Pink does like the ice plunge.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
right.
I will say, stay in shape, ladies, because it is an athletic field that we are in, whether you like it or not. And yet I am kind of on a high after the show.
Yeah.
And
That's the
some
best
shows are
part.
sold out and some are at 50%. And I think I probably lost about a third of my audience to the Trump thing permanently. And that's just the way it is. And I don't love that, but it's my new reality. So I'm just so happy to be doing 40 cities on this leg of the tour. And then I'll do the larger cities in the fall. And I even get to go back and play Carnegie Hall in October.
Amazing.
I wanted to ask
Wow.
you about this.
Which I can't believe because that'll be the 6th time I've played Carnegie by myself.
I want to ask
And
you.
I'll be in the record of Carnegie for being the only female comic, because Joan Rivers and I both had played Carnegie 5 times just by ourselves, not with a lineup or a charity function. And so this will be the 6th
You
Carnegie.
can finally outdo her.
And that makes me feel uncanceled. Like that makes me
Yeah.
be like, maybe I'm finally uncanceled.
But also canceled, I mean, like, is that even a thing now. Like you're in good company at this point if you've been canceled. You'd be hard pressed to find anyone who hasn't been canceled to a degree.
Some people have gotten more popular with their cancellations.
I think
like, can we just?
No, that's
can I just say I'm still not over the insanity of that, and I know I should move on from the Trump thing, but like I still go. Oh my God, the president and the White House and the attorney general came after a female comedian for a photo that scared him.
Yeah, it's just a little dramatic.
It's
I
a
would
lot.
say.
Dramatic. And also, that's where your taxpayer dollars are going. I still like...
It's absurd.
It's honestly
just
reminiscent of Nadia, too. Like, we had Nadia from Pussy Riot on. And,
totally.
Right.
Nadia from Pussy Riot.
Yeah, so we had her on.
Can you imagine having to try to escape Putin? Having to try to survive with Putin using everything he can to come after you.
But all they've done really is wear ski masks and play punk rock songs.
Yes.
And so imagine big bad Putin on his stallion just thinking, this is unacceptable, these girls.
Using the KGB to go after these girls. I don't know how they're still alive. How do those girls take a sip of coffee without wondering?
Well, that's what she told us. She was basically like,
Seriously.
anytime she feels even a little dizzy, she's like, oh, have they gotten me?
Well, that's not hyperbole. That's real.
I'm just impressed that you were able to afford $1 million in lawyer fees.
Do you know what my dark secret is?
Business
I'm
has
really,
changed.
really good with money.
Really?
I have 2 talents. I only have 2 talents. I'm funny and I'm good with money.
Wait, how do you, in what way are you good with money?
Okay, first of all, I'm besties with Susie Orman, the financial guru.
I love her.
I hate to pick a favorite lesbian because they're all so perfect. But if I had to pick, I'm sorry, gals, I would have to say Susie Orman has been such an earth angel. And luckily, I was also raised, my mom was just a big budget person. So she taught me how to balance a checkbook when I was 10. And my mom ingrained that into me because, I didn't come from money or anything. But when I started making money, I didn't know what to do and I felt guilty and I gave a lot away and I didn't think I didn't know what to do with this money and I wasted a lot of it. And so, I gave it to people that didn't appreciate it or didn't do anything righteous or worthy with it and all this other stuff. And so I got with Susie and she helped me. She convinced me to pay off my house, which I could afford at the time. And I said, well, my business manager says the mortgage has tax breaks. And she said, look at the field you're in. You have no job security. You're a woman in stand-up comedy. You are not going to just go from job to job the rest of your life as if you worked in the corporate world. And she said, what would make you feel better? A little tax break or knowing you own this house that you could live in the rest of your life? And I was like, duh. So I paid off the house. And then she just convinced me, just sock your money away. And so all those years, on whether it was Suddenly Susan, an NBC show I was on, or all the touring, or I'd done 19 TV specials, 21 in total, including 2 audio specials. And I've just been socking it away for a rainy day. And my rainy day came, and it was 6 years long. So I did not make money for 6 years. And so thank God I just have been socking it away. So I'm a very conservative investor. I'm not a day trader. I don't buy anything and no trendy stocks. I have Susie overlooking all my stuff and she does it just as a love and a friend.
Do you think she'll take us on?
Yes, she will. And her mission in life is for women to be better with money. And she makes it comprehend. I know I'm like doing a commercial for Susie Orman, but honestly, she put me on the right track. And I also had my first husband, I don't know if you know about this, but my first husband, there was a lot of money missing.
Oh.
And I found out for 4 years he would wake up earlier than I did, go in my purse, take my 2 ATM cards, go to the ATM and take out $1,500. But it really added up over years. I know. And so,
oh my God.
So Susie
he was socking it away too.
Right? He was socking it away too. And so I know I don't have the best luck with husbands, but I'm still not done with cock. Not done with cock. I just want everyone to know cock is still on the table.
Still on the table.
Still on the table. Still on the table. Just please don't steal my money. Thank you. I have a low, low bar. Just don't steal from me.
To
and we're
Debbie
fine.
Reynolds too, right?
It's happened to so many women.
Yeah.
And I also went on this is back in the day, but I went on the Larry King show and talked about it. And I went on The View and talked about it. And I had so many women come up to me because when you're a woman, it's shame-based. First of all, you're not even supposed to be the breadwinner, right? So there's your first mistake. How dare you be the breadwinner? And then to admit that your man is like stealing money from you.
Oh my God.
So much shame.
Are you kidding? How embarrassed am I?
Embarrassing.
How embarrassed am I that I didn't even notice
Ugh.
and I thought I was good with money and I gave him my like passwords because he was my husband.
Right.
And back in the day, we used ATM machines and, there were other improprieties, let's just say, but my trust was shot.
Did he have an addiction? Like, is that what he was?
It's so weird because I confronted him and even my mom and dad confronted him. And I also made him sign a letter of confession so he could never come after me. Oh, yeah, I took care of business. I also made him confess to 5 human beings that we both knew. Yeah. Because I was afraid he would try to spin it.
Right.
Like
That's
I
so
was
smart.
somehow.
You just needed all the witnesses.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. And, I'm a little nervous about my current divorce. I'm fearful my current husband will spin something.
Yeah.
And so I have anxiety about that. There's nothing to spin, but I'm just saying nothing will shock me anymore. And so to this day, I have that letter of confession in my safe. And I'm actually glad I talked about it publicly because I've had women to this day come up to me and say, yeah, my husband stole money. Or
Did he ever say why?
I asked him about it and he just kept saying, oh, just little things here and there, just little things. But I think he was socking it away. I think he was just, and I think I have a feeling he like shape-shifted into almost a new person and is probably somebody else's problem now. And I don't know. I have no idea where he is and I don't want to know.
Rewind it back to the days of chillaxing on the beach and all-day fun with Spring Break on DraftKings Casino. Play exclusive games like fan fave Rocket. The excitement is endless, the vibes are right, and the cash prizes could be huge.
We love DraftKings. We're pygmy girls.
Look, I lived in Vegas for several years. You know this.
I can't believe I didn't know you in your Vegas era. That hurts.
So it's in my blood to love blackjack, roulette.
You think it's in your blood, girl.
I know it's in your blood. Thanks, Daddy.
Yeah, you guys, we love DraftKings Casino, and new players start playing with just $5 and get 100 back instantly in casino credits. Download the app and use code Trash Tuesday to book your one-way ticket to fun with DraftKings Casino. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. 21 plus, physically present in Connecticut, Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, only void in Ontario. Eligibility and other restrictions apply. One per opted-in new customer. $5 wager required. Max $100 in casino credits awarded, which require one-time playthrough within 168 hours. See terms at casino.draftkings.com/promos. Restrictions apply. Man, I always think about, obviously there's so much more going on with her now with Wendy Williams, but even just the fact that she was clearly the breadwinner. He had a mistress. They had a baby.
Right.
He
That
was
guy
spoiling
is a
her.
dog. I watched every minute of that, and I did
know.
her show countless times, and she was always fun and a very hard worker. She worked her butt off. And also, let's not forget what a groundbreaker she is in radio. That
Right.
all those years, she was doing morning radio long before the Breakfast Club, and she was confronting celebrities and telling it like it was. And then she did, and daytime talk is a grind. I've never done it full time. I've only guest hosted, but my friends that have done it full time, you have no life. It is a grind. And to grind out 5 shows a week. And every time I did that show, it was a party. So she had to keep up that level of how you doing? And it's a party, and keep up on every hot topic and interview everybody. I mean, everybody cycled through that show, even though her reputation was oh, be careful of Wendy. But I didn't find her to be that way at all. I think she's easy because you just have to be honest.
Right.
She would ask you questions that were a little tough, but you just answered,
Yeah.
I can't even stomach watching the new documentary.
It's hard to watch.
Yeah.
And I admit I feel a little dirty watching it. But on the other hand, I think historically it will be reflected upon as a good thing, as an education tool. A little bit in the way you were talking about Mark Maron talking about his dad's dementia. Even though seeing Wendy like this it feels dirty, I think maybe it won't even take another generation, but we're now just hearing about aphasia from Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
And, dealing with my mom with dementia, having someone, it's like their soul is snatched by Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and watching my mom turn into the polar opposite of who she really was. So I think seeing Wendy like that in some ways will actually be a bit of I don't want to use the word comfort, but it'll be something for people to see that are dealing with it in their own lives going, oh, it's not personal when they attack me.
I
Because
feel
when my mom would attack me when she had dementia, at first I would just sob. And then I had to learn, like, oh, this isn't Maggie anymore.
Right.
Maggie has left the building.
At the very least, Wendy Williams will be like an education of sorts.
Yeah. And her legacy is real.
Yes.
Her legacy is legit
I love
and it's
Wendy.
real. Of course.
I do too, and I do feel similarly to you because I watched that whole thing as well, and you feel bad watching it, but I can't articulate why. I feel that it's also like a positive for the world, and that she's sharing, maybe even not knowing, but she's helping the world by
she's showing
this
something
happening.
that's hard to watch, but it's out there.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much of it is alcohol related, because in the series they kind of imply that most of it's alcohol related. And then when it came out is when they said she has aphasia. So I don't know, and I don't think it matters. I mean, it could be 80% alcohol related, it could be 10% alcohol related, but I feel like it's a real cautionary tale. And the good news is you can go on YouTube and see endless clips of the good Wendy and see her shows
and celebrate
see interviews
her
and celebrate her. Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, so is aphasia not linked to alcohol, or we don't know?
I actually don't know. In fact, I admit I don't know the difference between Alzheimer's, dementia, and aphasia.
So you can get aphasia from anything, any type of brain injury, whether a stroke, you can get it from dementia. There's many other, there's a lot of neurological things that can cause aphasia. I think in her case, it's hard to tell what came first.
I really don't know how I feel about sharing this take publicly, but when I watched that documentary, one of my favorite movies is Sunset Boulevard.
Yeah.
And I have never seen such a strong similar
resemblance
theme.
to that character.
Yes,
right?
resemblance.
Yeah,
yes,
Gloria Swanson's character.
It was, it was like, it really affected me watching that.
It did, me
seeing
too.
that.
And watching her family and how each family member deals with it and her. But I'm just saying, from my own experience with many years of doing her show, she was never mean. She was never like, I never showed up at the Wendy Williams show where they were like, oh, she's drunk. Like every time I showed up, it was just Wendy was good to go, and she was going guns blazing, and it was always fun. And like I said, she worked her butt off.
Now, how did you cope when your mom, because I love your relationship with your mom.
Come on, Maggie.
Is
Tip
like
it.
To Maggie.
Tip it to Maggie. Tip your box of wine for my mother.
I have always looked at that and you guys on camera together and just felt like mother-daughter goals. Like
she was such a natural that Bravo would actually say, we need more of your mom and dad. And that was the best compliment I could have gotten, because for them, they didn't even start the show till they were like in their 80s or something, or 70s or something. And I just knew they would pop, because I knew my dad was like sort of comedian level funny, but my mom was funny without knowing why.
Yes.
And I was so happy.
I feel the same way. Yeah.
Is that your parents too?
Yes, it's a very similar thing. And that's why I feel like you're such a trailblazer in this field.
Aww.
But so how did you cope? Because you bring up that she would yell at you and you thought you were the problem, but then you realize you're not. Like, how did you cope with that?
What was so sad is that Maggie's form of dementia was very fear-based. And it broke my heart to see my little Maggie. She was so scared because her demons were so real. And so honestly, I'll be honest, I was all for the place where they just sedate the shit out of her, because
it's hard to reorient somebody
they
in
don't
that
come
state
back.
of fear. Yeah,
they don't come back. And so, where the place where she ended up, they dealt with folks that are in advanced dementia. And she had to be in the floor that was locked because she was getting up at 4 a.m. thinking she and my dad were going for breakfast. And my dad was, of course, dead. And so, I mean, once again, I'm going to sound flippant, but I would just talk to them being like, give her meds, give her more meds. Why have her be alert and astute and sedate the shit out of her? By the way, she lived to 99.
Incredible.
Really? That's my
Incredible.
nightmare. Okay. That is my nightmare. I need a suicide pact right now. I swear to God, if I live to 99, I want you two girls to just take me to Malibu, throw me in the ocean.
Can we get that on paper?
Yes.
Thank you.
Let's write it up with Susie Orman. Write it up.
So it's been 2 years now, but I was in a decade-long relationship
Okay.
with my last partner. He is also a comic. His name's Bobby Lee. He's a funny
Yeah, I
Korean
know
man. And I want to know, like,
Yikes. No, I'm just saying.
no, dating a comic is really an
Jesus.
Olympic sport. A male comic is an Olympic sport. I never thought
It's like
that
a
I
death
would.
wish.
10 years too. And
10
I love
years.
him. I love the guy.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, a male comic is.
Yeah.
It's a different
Yeah.
variety.
You can, hold on.
of
Can we just take 1
chaos.
minute? Can we just take 1 minute? Because I'm not going to say the name. I'll tell you privately after. But a very famous, well-known, beloved comedian of my generation said to me recently, because I'm back on tour, "Who's your spotter?" Tell the audience what a spotter is for a guy comic.
Wait, I literally don't know.
I think
Okay, are you-
a spotter is
Am I
if
so
I
old
know
that-
this.
I've heard
they
of
still-
it. Oh, it's a guy who like looks for hot girls.
Yes.
It's a guy who
Ew.
they set up the
recruit the girls.
blowjob before the show, and then they set up the blowjob for after the show.
Right.
And it's a wristband. And I'm sorry to say there are plenty of girls that are like, yay, what a thrill for me. And as a feminist, that makes me mad. But I'm laughing at this guy saying to me at my age, "Who's your spotter?" I go, honey, for the ladies and gay guys in my audience, first of all, any guy at my show would be like, love it. Let's go backstage and see my queen. Yes, queen. So no, there's no fucking spotter at the Kathy Griffin show. But this guy, of course he's married. I go, do you know what female comics do after a show? We go back to the hotel and we have a tuna melt.
Yeah.
And we watch Below
and
Deck.
fries.
There's no
Below
banging
Deck.
some guy. I go, that would be rape. Like, we'd probably get raped if we just invited a random guy to the hotel room to have sex.
terrifying.
Terrifying. Now, that's actually a sign of progress that you didn't know what a spotter is.
Yeah.
I also, or it's just that I'm naive, or that they don't include me in these conversations.
Do you have one? Just tell us.
Do I have one?
Yeah. Is it her?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm Esther's
She'd
spotter.
be the worst spotter.
I
She'd
am.
bring back the
Who would you bring back?
the weirdest.
Her and I don't have the same type. Let's just say that. I mean, I dated Bobby Lee for 10 years.
And I love him, but I see myself when I look at Bobby. I
right.
don't
You
see
are
like
of the
a hot
same
guy. Yeah.
ilk for sure.
So you're not going to give Bobby Lee a wristband so he can go fuck her after the show.
I chase uggos.
Okay.
I love ugly men.
Okay.
So
I get it.
I just wouldn't be a good spotter for
Yeah.
anyone because I go for like funny, like weird types.
Right. I like a unique guy and I like personality first.
I like funny shaped
Yeah.
also.
Funny shit. Like pear?
All types
All
of
the
shit.
fruits.
Yeah. I
Okay.
just don't like an Adonis. An Adonis is not my type.
Right.
A
And
guy
they
who's
just have innate baggage, right? Like an
think more than
Adonis, they come with, it's like a hot chick. You know what I mean? They come with they've been pursued their whole lives.
Yeah.
They don't have to put work in. They're probably not great in bed because they're probably like, I'm done. Look at my muscles and my cock.
I'm right
I'm
here.
done. You do all the work. You're on top. You get the sore arms. You do all the work.
But how do you get over heartbreak? And how long does it take? When do you actually like come up for air and
If
say,
one more
okay,
person tells me 2 years, I'm like, I don't have that kind of time. I can't be
but it's
65 and
true.
walking around worried
I'm-
about this fucking guy.
I'm 2 years out and there are still moments that hurt me when, I'm really good friends with my ex. We still
What
do a show
triggers you?
together. So when he tells me stories about like, who he's dating and what, that doesn't trigger me.
Okay.
It's actually when we have sweeter conversations.
Oh.
And I
remember the good
remember
times.
why we worked for
Right.
so long, or when we're both in emotional distress and we go back to each other for support. And then I remember this is why he was my best friend.
Yeah.
This is why we worked out for so long, because we were each other's backbone.
See,
of.
that's why I know I cannot be anything with my ex-husband. Not cordial, not friends in 10 years ever, because I am not lobbying an accusation in any way. I'm just telling you I'm reading a lot about the topic of covert narcissism.
Okay.
And that's all I'm going to say about that, because it's a topic I did not understand. And from what I read, not that I was ever with one in any way, of course, but if a lady was with one, apparently,
Not that I don't know any.
I don't know
either.
anything. I'm just saying from what I read with a narcissist, it's kind of a death knell to even think you can have a cordial relationship. Or I need to start in AA, we talk about living in acceptance. And I just need to go, this is the way it is. You know, maybe he just plain fell out of love with me, which he has the right to do, and that hurts, but that is the way it is. And so for me, I hurt the most when I think about our good times.
Yeah.
So I need to keep reminding myself of the worst, of the names he called me, the pre-show fights. Like, I need to remember that stuff. Not that I'm accusing him of any of those things. I'm randomly talking about a random woman who may have gone through these things.
I think for me, it's a little different because we really did have such a deep friendship, and there
Right.
was never any name calling. There was never any like outward abuse.
Yeah.
And for someone I have dated, not a covert narcissist, but I found out very recently there's such a thing as a vulnerable narcissist.
What's
What?
that?
Oh, Jesus.
Oh my God, I
I gotta
learned
buy
it
another
from
book. I gotta buy a new book.
Dr.
behind.
Romany just described this
Who the fuck's
really.
Dr. Romany?
Dr.
Oh my
Romany is our
God.
goddess.
What?
We love.
She will cover
You need her.
narcissism. You need her.
You need-
Christine, my assistant's here. She's writing it on Dr. Romany. Is she your Susie Orman?
She is.
No, we don't
she doesn't
know her.
know she's my Suze Orman, but she is.
Okay.
She is somebody that I've referred to
So what
many
did she
times
say
in my
about
life.
a vulnerable
So
narcissist?
basically, a
Jesus.
vulnerable narcissist is not someone who's going to shut you out. They don't have the overt kind of like narcissistic
like the
traits.
Trumpian,
Right. But you will usually notice this about them, where they tend to always play victim. I didn't get this job because of that. There's never really any like accountability, or so the world is happening to them. Nothing in their life is going good because they are always the victim.
Gosh, I don't know anyone like that.
But they can be very attuned to your feelings and can
Bells
present.
going off, bells going off, bells going off.
And I think that's so scary because somebody who is vulnerable in the sense, who's able to talk about their feelings, you don't necessarily associate with
You
narcissism.
shouldn't weaponize vulnerability.
Yeah.
It's called mind fuckery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Manipulation.
My mind is sore. It was
Yeah.
fucked so hard. So I will do anything to try to move through this pain.
Yeah, to heal anything.
Anything.
Yeah.
So I'm
Especially
doing
sober.
cupping, which I don't even think works. I have scars
I'm
on
so
my
like
back,
you.
cupping, and I just do it because like it ain't hurting.
I
It
know.
ain't
I'll
hurting.
try anything too, and I'm like, I don't believe in any of it. Like,
No.
I'm too much of like a scientist.
Me too.
Or something.
I'm too much of like a pragmatist.
Yeah.
But it doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
The acupuncture may not help, but it doesn't hurt.
Like, I'll try it because I don't this whatever
pain is
funk
too
I'm in.
horrible.
Yeah, and to the like whole like narcissist and like that whole topic. I find myself a lot of times in those experiences that I've had, and I obviously like every complex bad relationship I've been in is always a two-way street. Like I got in it willingly.
No, I let my husband take over too much of my life. Like that was on me. I love that he took care of everything. Then in the divorce, it wasn't so good. He knew every password and all that other stuff.
Right.
But I admit that's my side of the street is I was like, I kind of loved it in not a very feminist, independent woman way.
No, I talk about this a lot. Like we were talking about this last week where sometimes you just wish you could turn your brain off and like have someone lead and take over. So that is so relatable. That's like being in your feminine, whatever. But like for me, one thing that comes up when I'm in these kinds of situations is I always ask them like, why? Why did they do
Right,
this? Why did they
course.
say this? Why did they hurt me? And then
How can you not? Of
then I
course.
think, and then I've just taught myself, you're never going to get an answer
don't
to
get
that
closure.
question.
Right.
And
And that's
that's-
okay to not get the closure either. You don't need it from that other
Closure
person.
can be a little bit of a myth. Like closure happens sometimes, but many times in my long life, it just hasn't happened. So that's why like that phrase living in acceptance is I have to go, I'm not gonna get closure with this guy.
or forgiveness.
I'm not, look, the first husband, like I said, I still don't know what he did with that money.
Right.
I will never know. But it's okay because the good thing is he's away from me.
But some things aren't worth like reasoning with.
Right.
There's just, you cannot
Because
like,
I was trying to apply a logic to an illogical situation.
right. And that's a dead end. And you're just going to continue to spin and spin and
And I
spin.
can't
And they're
even
going to
imagine
just move
stealing
along.
from somebody.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm trying to figure out this, and I would never do it myself. And
yeah, that's how I always say. I'm like, I would never do that. Why did they do that?
Yeah.
And then it's like,
you're on the spin
But
cycle.
you're projecting your own morality and goodness and hoping that that person somehow like embodies that. And oftentimes they don't.
It's not their thing.
It's just not.
It's just not their thing.
And they have their own side of a story that I will never understand and whatever.
Yes,
Anyways.
and look, I was no angel. So wherever my ex is, and I do mean wherever, cha-ching. No, but wherever he is, he's got his own story. And
yeah,
I understand that.
Yeah.
So when you're asking me how to get through heartbreak, I am just throwing everything. I'm doing breathwork classes. Being on the road is tremendously therapeutic. I thank God for this tour, every single city. And my friends have been amazing. I've brought a girlfriend as my babysitter on every leg of the tour so far. And it's so much fun. So like, when I was in the Kansas City area, I flew in one of my sober sisters from AA from New York, and we met up at the hotel, and we'd have like a coffee clutch every morning, and she would come backstage during the show, and she'd be like, okay, I went outside. So tonight's audience is 40% gay guys, 10% straight couples, and she would just, it was just fun. So that, I'm a big advocate of that. And I got to say, my girlfriends have risen to the occasion. Like, because after the Trump thing, I had to reassess all my friendships because so many of my friends ditched me. So after getting sober, I've kind of curated like real girlfriends. And oh my God, they are keeping me going. Went to Jane Fonda's, I used the bat phone.
Yeah.
I used the bat phone and I called her and I was sobbing. And she calls me KG and I go, it's KG. And I spilled the story and she was like, come over. And I went over and we were doing
is this real?
breathing. Yeah.
You know Jane Fonda?
I just went to her house.
Share.
I was just.
I've been doing her workout since I was 8 years old.
She is
forced by my mother, but
amazing. She's beyond what you would hope. Like she really is that person, and she's so smart. And she talked to me about her, famous love affairs because I wanted to go talk to somebody who'd been through the fire. And I walked in and I was sobbing, and she was like, "Breathe, breathe," and she's hugging me, and I was so grateful just for her knowledge and her company. And the very next Saturday night, I used the bat phone for Sharon Stone. So, honey, good old Stoney.
You've just got the icons on the bat
I have the icons, and I look, I don't abuse them, but when it's hardcore, and Stoney's like, come on over. And so I go over. Yeah, good old Stoney. And I go over, and she was telling me, and she's so funny. She's like, let me tell you what this is all about. It's all about dick size. I've been through hell with guys. It's when their dicks don't feel big. That's what I don't care if this guy had a big dick or not. Something about you made his dick not feel big. And I was with this guy. Turns out he didn't feel like he had a big dick. He did, but turns out because I'm Sharon Stone, he felt like he didn't have a big dick. It's all about dick size. And I've been laughing just thinking about. She literally whittled down every single romantic problem that I've had since I have been like well-known and had money to dick size. And she might be onto something.
I kind of love that theory.
And I don't mean
it's
actual
not
dick
even
size.
actual dick size.
No,
it's how they perceive it.
It's how they perceive.
How you make them feel.
Right. And how many guys have said to me, like, I like you, but I don't want to be Mr. Griffin. Like, I've heard that my whole adult life. I know. Isn't it a bummer?
It is.
It's a bummer.
But then I think of like, well, good on them for knowing, because I look at the Wendy Williams thing and I'm like, this guy was emasculated by her. And so he had to go create his own masculine life.
And had a baby and then had a mistress in one of her houses that she bought. Are you kidding me?
Like, I
also like my friend Bob Odenkirk. There's a good name for you. Better call Saul.
Love him.
His wife is his manager.
Yeah.
So when it's
Naomi.
the gender reversals, I've seen it work many times. But honestly, this is okay. I know I'm topic switching, but look, I can make all the Taylor Swift jokes I want, and I'm happy to. I'm actually not. I'm terrified of the Swifties. But
as we all should be.
As we should be. They're a force to be reckoned with. But one thing that I really love is I can't think of a time, and I do know the divas. I do know Cher and Stevie Nicks. I can't think of a time when there's been a guy that actually was cheering on her. And the fact that he is literally the football star, like the most, I guess, classically toxic masculine. I don't know the guy. I'm sure he's a sweet guy, but like to see him pumping his fist at her shows
and exchanging friendship bracelets with her fans
is like, I don't think it's ever been done in the history of female pop music. And that's one thing that I think she is a real change agent. And it makes me sad that Stevie Nicks and Cher never had that. And I think of Cher and her famous relationships, and it was always, oh, he's Mr. Cher. And I hope that this Taylor Kelsey thing is a change. And I hope that more female comics and actresses and pop stars will have men that do what the women have been doing forever. In fact, my ex was my tour manager. I know. And so that was also, I probably shouldn't have let us become so enmeshed. But I also think, no offense, that's a pretty cool career. Like he's settled shows at the Sydney Opera House, at Radio City Music Hall. No offense, but being Kathy Griffin's tour manager is like not a bad gig. No, because I get to play some of the greatest venues in the freaking world.
Yeah.
And I tour constantly.
It's a hugely successful gig.
It's a nice gig. And so it may, like, one of the things that just makes me sad about my divorce is like, oh, it's another case where the woman was the one in the spotlight. Is that him on a train? Because maybe he's on a train somewhere. And
it's right
can
behind
we stop
us.
that train?
Yeah,
I just
I'll go.
need to check for
We
bodies.
found him.
No, I'm kidding. And so that's one thing that I think is a positive thing about Taylor Swift. And I hope more people are aware that I don't think it's ever happened before.
As a self-proclaimed pop female historian, whatever I am,
Yes.
that you just made such an amazing assessment of our culture. And like, you are so right that is a huge shift.
Yeah.
Because I'll never forget in one of like Britney's MTV docs where her and Madonna were sitting there and Madonna's like, marriage just isn't for girls like us.
Yeah.
And it's like, I get where they're coming from. And it's so nice that there is this shift.
And it's not because the girls are the breadwinner or busy. It's because it's kind of Stoney's thing where they can't
guy
find
doesn't-
the guy who thinks his dick is big enough. And Britney's a perfect example. We never saw, certainly not Justin Timberlake, who I'm not speaking to, but we never saw a guy, a football hero or an actor. Look, she dated Colin Farrell. Why wasn't he fist pumping at her shows? But Britney never got that. And so I really hope Taylor Swift is the start of more women,
seeing that that's possible
in entertainment, because it's visible and we get to see it.
And Travis for setting the example for other men to do the
100%.
same
Right.
thing.
because
just went
he's
to
so
Singapore
secure.
for her.
He
Well,
just
he
went to
also
Singapore.
just-
By the way, as he should, which is like, what else is he doing? He just retired and he's going to go pump his fist at her show and her fans love it. And I'm sure she feels supported like she never has by a boyfriend, not like freaking Harry Styles or whatever, the Jonas
On the flip
guy.
side, though, you still have men like Keke Palmer's baby daddy and Simone Biles' husband, even
Okay.
though they seem to be doing just fine, where they are,
I
they
don't
think
like
they are the
that.
prize
Yeah, I
in their
don't like that.
relationship.
No.
And that really, really bothers me.
Because
It's-
Simone Biles is a goat. And so
I mean, the fact
when
that
your
he
wife
said
is the
he didn't
goat,
know
you
who
need
she
to know.
was.
Okay.
And he said, he
Okay.
claims he didn't know who she was when they
Right.
first matched.
Real Cambridge alumni there.
I know. I'm like, how can you be? And he's a athlete himself. I'm like, how can you be an athlete in America
Bullshit,
and
I
not
don't
know
believe it.
who Simone Biles
Right.
is?
Right.
crazy.
And also, who's cooler than Keke Palmer?
Nobody.
Truly.
Right?
Nobody.
Like,
You.
stop complaining, Mr. Lucky. You're just a chairman of the fucking Lucky Club and just say thank you. And I'm sure your dick is just fine. I'm sure it's the right size. Don't make me show it to Sharon Stone. I'm sure it's perfect. But yeah, that's one of the things that I want to see change in my freaking lifetime, because it's, I was good friends with Joan Rivers and she was good friends with Phyllis Diller before her, who was good friends with Moms Mabley before her. And all these women talked about it. It's just the guy situation when you're a female in entertainment, it's still very stigmatized, in my opinion.
I absolutely agree. We see it, we live it. Like, yes,
It's not sexy for a guy to be in the back of a comedy club, but it's sexy for a girl to be in the back of a comedy club watching a guy.
You know what
It should be sexy.
I
though.
once
It should be
heard.
sexy.
Yeah.
The funny chicks are sexy.
Even as a producer, this happens to me. Like guys are not interested because I'm like successful and all this stuff. It's the same thing even
A
for
threat,
me.
right?
What?
A threat, right?
Yeah, threat. I have to.
Well, you know what
always,
Sharon Stone
I
would
never
say.
save my salary.
You had
What
played
would
on the
Stoney
salary.
say, Stella?
She said she has to play down her salary. I've been there.
Yeah.
Well, that's
that.
interesting because I find being, having been single for 2 years, I have a partner now, but that is something that I would never disclose.
Yeah.
Was money. And I feel as though with men, it's almost one of the first flexes. Like the
Yeah.
first thing they do flex
Yeah.
is how much they have. And as a girl, you are overly conscious about making sure you downplay
Yeah.
that part of who you are.
100%.
Yeah,
One
that
time,
part sucks.
the first house I bought was in the late 90s. It's the one Susie convinced me to pay outright. And she said, by the way, Susie Orman also says, if you cannot buy a house cash, you can't afford it. So she's
That's
hardcore.
controversial.
I understand. But she's
That's
just trying to keep
controversial.
women from having mortgages.
But I get it.
But I will say, I bought my last house cash because I was like,
Very Chinese of you.
well, you know, I'm living acceptance. and it just makes me feel good that it's paid off. Because like I said, I've been out of work for 6 years. Trump can get reelected and I can be out of work for another 4 years.
Yeah.
So I just want a nice place to stay with my dogs. But wait, what were we talking about before about, was it salaries?
Salaries.
Yeah.
Playing down salary.
Yeah, it's so funny. It doesn't even occur to me to expect a guy to have money. I don't know why. I know I've dated a lot of barbacks. You know, every barback that you've known in LA.
Wait, what is your type?
Yeah, my type is guys who like me.
Same. Same.
It's a low bar. No, I just want to be with a guy who's nice and just doesn't have that gender politics issue that I've just run into over and over again.
Yeah, the gender
And they're out there. They are out
I
there.
hope
I think to
so.
offset, my new strategy is to offset the fact that potentially a lot of the men that I'll meet will not be making as much as me.
Yeah.
They need to have a set of skills that I don't have.
Yeah.
They need to know how to hunt. They need to know how to build. They need to know how to provide in all of the analog ways.
I'm sorry. Let's just stop at the hunting. What are we in Wasilla, Alaska?
I
Were
swear,
you having
Kathy.
deer tonight for dinner?
Because I'm thinking like post-apocalyptic. It's like, what
Oh,
can he
you're a
bring
prepper. Okay.
to the
Okay, you're a
table
prepper.
that I'm not able to provide? It's
Right.
like, okay, maybe I will be the breadwinner. Of course, he needs to have a stable job.
But
like,
he has to have a bow and arrow
he needs, yes.
to get dinner.
The guy I'm with now has
Yes.
a bow. But he's a perfect
Well, he has
mix.
to have an arrow. If he just has a bow, it's really
He
not
has
going
an
to
arrow.
feed
He has
you
a
dinner.
couple arrows.
Okay.
But you know what? It always comes down to how do they feel about themselves?
Yes,
That's it, because-
and that's the part you can't control, and that's what's so frustrating. You can't love them into
No.
being cool with it.
Exactly.
And I thought I could love this guy into going, this is my life. It's a great life. We are on the road together. We laugh together. And I was wrong. It just wasn't where his head is.
I would
was.
love a housewife husband that
Right.
loved.
like a house daddy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe though, don't call him a housewife.
I mean,
That's
Yeah.
probably not a good opener, but no, I'm just saying, but I do like that I have more and more friends that are having kids
Yeah.
where the guy is happy to be the dad.
Yes.
And that's not emasculating. Like for some reason, if it wasn't for the kids, they wouldn't be okay with the disparity in income. But thank God, a lot of men now are better about going, okay, you go make the money, you go get the insurance. I'm going to hold down the fort, but I'm really going to like raise these kids for real.
You know, my mom was the breadwinner,
Yeah.
and I see that as like the norm.
Who
which
paid
is,
the bills? Who did the bills?
My dad.
Yeah, see,
Yeah.
that's interesting. My dad was the breadwinner, but my mom technically did the bills. And that's just the way it was. But I feel like those things should be divided now in a way where we should be rewriting all the rules on that.
I
Yeah.
agree.
You know.
So I think for me is
All right,
I'm
so you want a
okay.
hunter, a gatherer?
So I have the partner I have now.
Okay.
One of the greatest things he ever said was like when I did finally open up to him and said, "Hey, like I don't like. Do you feel like you could potentially be emasculated in this situation? Because I do make like more than you."
Yeah.
And he was like, "If my masculinity hinged on a number financially, like
Right.
I'd be like, what kind of human would I be?"
Right. That's what I think is a shocking that doesn't occur to these guys.
He's like, my value, KHALYLA, is so much more than, but he has a good job. It just doesn't, it's just not as much as mine. But
Yeah.
I found that to be so refreshing because he was like, there's absolutely no, like, there's nothing there
Yeah.
that makes me feel as though like I feel any less of a man around you.
You know who's like that too is, Nick Offerman is married to Megan Mullally
Yes.
from Will
Yes.
and Grace.
Yes.
And when I
love them.
first met Meg, Nick was a struggling actor, and it was like years until Nick really got discovered. And I never saw a guy as cool with himself as Nick Offerman was. And Meg was, she's still famous. But the first go around of Will and Grace, the four of them could like barely walk down the street. They were so
Right.
famous. And I knew them both then. And he was always, he would hold her bag while she took pictures, and he was there for her. And I remember she and I went to see him in some little teeny play, and he was obviously wildly talented. And he is like maybe the only example I've seen with like a woman who was that famous, that much the breadwinner. And he just was like doing his thing in acting classes and waiting for
Had
his
a
break.
passion.
And his break came, and now he's sort of the more famous one, you know? And she loves it.
I'm so glad we're stumbling into this because it's not about money. It's about how the man feels about
Right.
himself.
Yeah.
And like, so that to me, I feel better about like that, sending that message to men listening, because we do have a lot of male listeners. Like, it's about you and how you feel, and you can be feeling your masculine no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
think
up
there are
to
many
you.
ways to feel secure in your masculine outside of just a figure,
Yeah.
outside of just
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
I would also like to say I think it's hotter to be okay with like the Nick Offerman to hold the purse than
So
Oh,
hot.
so hot.
It's so hot.
so hot.
Yeah.
Like
It's
I'm attracted
seriously-
to Travis Kelce, and I don't never would be,
Me
but
too.
like just because
But I have little heart emojis now just thinking about him.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to see Madonna tonight. Never has Madonna had that. Never has Madonna, with all her famous love affairs, had some guy in the front row fist pumping and cheering her on and saying, I'm proud to be with Madonna. We're
Was
photographed
Guy Ritchie
together.
never that for her, right?
No,
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I
I'm
don't
going
know
next
her.
Monday.
I've never met her. She's on.
You're going Monday?
Yeah. If I can. I'm way too pregnant. Probably it's not safe.
They're
but-
going to turn you away at the door?
Yeah, for being too pregnant.
Wait, do you know Madonna?
No, I've never met her.
What?
I know.
That makes no sense.
I know.
I feel like
But
that's...
I'm going. You want to know who I'm going with?
Yes.
Sia.
I love Sia. I do know
I
Sia.
knew it right when you said
That is
video
another
that went
flex of
viral.
mine. Tell her I said hello.
I will.
I love her.
I love her so deeply. It's ridiculous.
I've heard really good things about this tour.
Yeah, and I've just been watching clips on TikTok.
Yeah.
And to be 65 years old and still be doing the choreography of when those songs came out is insane. And I read a lot of the ageist comments and I get so mad. I'm like, you guys, did it ever occur to you to twist your thinking from why is she doing this at 65 to, oh, it's never been done?
It's so cool.
Like-
This is so beautiful. This is so good for the culture, for women to inspire
see,
us.
like, I'm still doing it. Why should she stop? Why? Because some guy on a TikTok comment thinks she's old. She's 65. She's not lying. She's not saying, bye, everybody, I'm 30. Surprise, holiday. And so I love that she's doing it. And I think she might be doing it to break another barrier. you know?
Yeah,
But I would like it if there was some guy fist pumping and cheering her on.
I agree. I know that really came up
Or
for
girl,
me.
or girl.
Yeah, but when like bringing up the Travis Kelce thing, I'm just like, yeah, our pop queens over the years deserve better.
Yep.
And I'm glad there's that example out there, so we now know
Let's
as a
start.
culture.
So much of like just pop queens in general though have such a large like gay fan base.
Yeah.
And I know that the gay community has really rallied and supported you over
yeah,
the
thank
years. What
God.
does that mean for you?
It's an organic relationship. I was that kid in first grade that somehow found the gay kid and we became friends. Like, it's just been going on forever where we've been attracted like to each other. And, my LGBTQ fans are like, I joke and say they're like country fans because they stay with you forever. Like, country music fans don't ever ditch their idols. And they certainly were not turned off by the Trump picture. They were like, yawn, whatever, another day at the office. And I just thank God because it's that support that is so important.
I have a lot of time left, but I wanted to ask you because you've been so intimately a part of reality TV for a very
Yeah.
long time. And recently I came across an article of Leah McSweeney suing Bravo
Yeah.
about just the work environment and like the quote unquote toxic culture of that. In your experience, do you feel as though like reality TV producers sort of like support the narrative in their head and sort of coax people in reality TV to like act a certain way, or do you think it's improved in the last like decade?
Well, I don't know because my show is a decade old now.
Yeah.
But I absolutely think that producers and networks and the streamers and the networks and the people that sign the checks, I absolutely think and have heard from many, many reality people, because I know a lot of them, that they plow them with alcohol, that they very much encourage having another drink. I've spoken to housewives that have had producers say, if there's not a fight every episode, we're going to let you go. So I believed this person who told me that. And my show was different because my show luckily was comedically driven. And my parents didn't need any encouragement to drink. And so that just kind of happened organically with the box of Franzia. But I do. And I think it's another area that's time has come. I think that there are, these housewives, I've known so many of them where their lives are ruined. They're getting DUIs. They're going to jail. They're going to prison. There's, these girls on The Bachelor that can't get jobs because they got drunk on the very first night and they probably weren't eating because they wanted to look skinny in their formal dress. Like, I know the whole drill and I've seen it. And I think its time has come. And I think the problem is, the mandate comes from probably as high as you can imagine, like I said, who's ever signing the checks ultimately. But the other thing is there is still a thirst from the audience to see that kind of behavior. So it's a bit of the, almost like we were talking about Wendy Williams, like it's almost like, okay, we've seen Wendy in this state. We don't need to see any more. And I feel like we've really seen enough reality people vomit, fall down and hurt themselves, go to the hospital.
Legal trouble, like you said.
I mean, the one woman on Beverly Hills where the guy hung himself, like, you got to be kidding me. And it was very soon after it was revealed that he was allegedly physically abusing her. That stuff's real. And so I think it's important that as we're watching these shows, just to be conscious of the fact that probably a lot of these people that are behaving this way probably weren't this way, or were encouraged to drink a lot. I don't know about drug stuff because I was a pill girl, but I don't know if anybody was like handing out pills, but I certainly know that reality producers push for the most abhorrent behavior. And it's turned into so different than when I started, because when I started, it was like Osbournes and Nick and Jessica.
I know, where there weren't
And they were so
setups.
innocent.
And it was,
I feel like that
They
was
were
just
so innocent.
golden era.
And it was
Yes.
actually real.
It was just
like my show was really unscripted.
I know.
Kardashians has soft script. The Hills is soft scripted. Like, it changed right after my show. And I really miss real reality television because it's good enough. You don't have to plow these people with alcohol and
agree.
drugs and hope they get wasted and get a DUI, because, they don't help you once you're in trouble.
So
I mean,
my
that chick from Salt Lake City is in prison and, nobody's helping her from Bravo. And yet it was the whole storyline. Well, she also was
In fact,
convicted of felony fraud.
They probably encouraged them to come and get her on camera.
I mean,
right? That was probably.
well, I think about Joe Guidice in season 1 of New York, paying the contractors with hundreds and literally doing the make it rain gesture. And
Teresa's
then he got
husband.
deported.
Yeah. Is
I
he
mean-
still in Italy?
I don't know if he's back, but that guy was deported. He was
Yeah.
in prison and then deported. And Teresa went to prison, not jail.
Right.
And Jen Shaw is in federal prison. And Erica
Crazy.
Jane is in real litigation trouble and has 8 lawsuits, according to the LA Times. And that is, you can't afford those designer clothes and still defend yourself. Take it from me. I know. I'm an expert in litigation now.
I want to pitch something to American reality TV in general. My favorite reality show ever is a Japanese one called Terrace House.
Okay.
And they just follow 6 young Japanese kids living in one house, kind of like the real world, but they do not get in the way.
Yeah.
These kids still go to work and nothing happens. There's almost like a quiet, like voyeurism.
But it's compelling.
I've watched every single season and you just let things happen naturally. There's no intrusion. There's no getting in there trying to like spin a narrative.
They
and
don't
it is
have to. That's what makes me sad, is having done a reality show that was successful, you don't have to do anything but trust in the people and the casting. And casting is everything. And I love watching real reality shows. I'm such a docuseries fanatic.
Me too.
You have to like pay me to watch a scripted show because, well, first of all, like Twin Flames and all the cult docs don't even start.
Oh God, the
But
Twin Flames.
Is anything more interesting than real people? And I don't think they manipulated Twin Flames. I mean, they're still
They're still
they're
up and
still
running,
up
by
and
the way,
running.
making
Yeah.
a lot of money. Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. That's the pitch to reality producers and the buyers, the streamers, the networks. Just trust in these people that they're going to be interesting enough, and trust in the premise, and keep it simple and let real people be real.
I totally
that.
agree. Before we go, I have to ask you, who are your female comic peers or friends? Like, who would you like on, if you guys scheduled everything right, like who'd be at the dinner party? Like, obviously it was Joan Rivers.
Joan Rivers, Wanda Sykes,
Oh.
Chelsea Handler, Whitney Cummings, all of them but Ellen. I can't resist. I never miss an opportunity. I never miss an opportunity.
Gosh, well, Kathy, thank you so much. Like, this
Girls,
has been...
this is a love fest.
No, this
We
is...
love you.
affair.
You
We
are
were very
so-
nervous. We were very much in awe of
Well,
you. I've
I'm
been a
so
long time
intimidated.
fan.
With my beauty
You
alone.
are.
Thank you so much for
Thank
doing
you,
this. It means a
girls.
lot to us.
And I
Thank
can't wait
you.
to catch a show on the My Life
Kathy
on...
Griffin, My Life on the PTSD-List tour. Go to kathygriffin.com.
Yes. Oh my God. I can't wait for that.
Thanks,
Thank you,
girls.
Kathy.
Thank you, ladies.
We'll see you guys next week with a brand new episode. Thanks for tuning in, slugs.